So
it's cool.
I mean, Olathe North, has a rich football history. So kind of coming into your sophomore year, there have been some pretty good running backs that have came through there. Darren Sproles. I mean, Isaiah Simmons wasn't a running back, but he was another guy that came through there. So coming into your sophomore year, and you kind of knowing, well, I played a lot as a freshman, and so I'm going to play even more as a sophomore. How did you handle that? Kind of what was that off season like for you in between that freshman and sophomore year?
Yeah, I feel like each year it's just you just like know what to expect. So I don't want to say it gets easier, but like I don't even know how to explain it. But like you just know what to do. So I took on more of like a quarterback role my sophomore year instead of I think I had more passing and rushing yards last year, sophomore year. But yeah, I accepted it. We had a lot of weapons like Damon Sanchez, Elijah Williams, Evan Stoker. So yeah, it was just fun because I knew what I needed to do.
Yeah, I know definitely that sophomore year, as we were prepping to play you guys in that first game, we had what we felt like was a pretty good team, kind of coming in through the preseason, and just as we're watching film on you guys, I'm like, man, this guy is something else. Like he's not the same kid we saw last year as a freshman.
I don't think so. All right, so we're going from sophomore year to junior year, and you're having colleges recruit you. Why do you choose Iowa? And who did you choose Iowa over? I want to know that.
I chose Iowa over Iowa State, Tulsa, and I think Western Illinois. But my main two were Iowa and Iowa State. Iowa State wanted me to take on more of an all-purpose back role. I liked the idea at first, but then I started watching more film with Coach Copeland at Iowa and Brian Ferentz, offensive coordinator at Iowa. I just liked the role that I was going to play in Iowa, like Tyrone Tracy, like a Swiss Army knife, do it all type of guy, slot, go out wide, get a couple carries at running back. I just like that idea opposed to just an all-purpose back, and I just wanted my body to. I feel like my body could last longer, and also a huge thing was if I wanted to play running back, I feel like I'd have to completely remold my body type, body shape. At receiver, I feel like I wouldn't have to do that as much.
Gotcha, that makes sense. The nice thing about going to a school like Iowa, and we talked about it kind of before we started the show, is that they're in it every year. So like already before you go in, this is not a team that just wins like 3 games and then they win 8 games and then they win 9 games and then whatever. Iowa's like 9 wins, 11 wins, 10 wins every year. Same coach has been there. How long has he been there?
20 years.
20 years. I mean, it's like
1999.
Yep.
He knows it. So like super stable program. So you already know where you're going is going to be a place that will help you grow as a player, right? Because there's no question marks there. And you get to play some of the best competition that there is in the NCAA. You get to go play Ohio State. You get to go play Michigan. You get to go play Michigan State. I know like choosing Iowa and some of the stuff you talked about as far as like your position and what you're going to do, but does playing those big schools and kind of like that, does that play into a factor in like wanting to go to a school like that where you're going to have to go play Iowa State? Or I'm sorry, go play Ohio State? Does that kind of play into your decision?
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely does. Because most of the Big Ten's like pro style. So my end goal is to be a pro NFL. So yeah, it definitely helps playing those Ohio State guys, defensive backs who are going to be in the NFL, obviously. So yeah, that definitely plays a huge role as well.
Yeah, and being that you are in Kansas, I have to ask. Kansas was not a school you mentioned. Were they not on you? Did you just not have any interest in them? How did that
to be honest,
shake out?
Yeah. Kansas, they really didn't show too much interest. But I forgot to say that after I committed, K-State asked me if a running back offer would change things, and I told them no.
Okay. I mean that's been one of my biggest problems with some of our local schools. KU, K-State, MU. I feel like, especially KU and K-State, us being in the Kansas City area, they don't take care of our Kansas City kids. I mean, even, Isaiah Simmons, who, just got drafted number 7 in the NFL draft, played at Olathe North. He didn't even get a lot of attention from some of these local schools and ended up at a Clemson. So, I don't understand why these local schools don't pay you guys more attention.
Yeah, I don't either.
I mean, obviously, going back to Darren Sproles, he went to K-State. That was a different time. Another Olathe North guy. But it just seems like over there at Olathe North, what are they putting in the water that make all you guys so good to be all these Division I athletes?
Yeah, I think since Coach McCartney, he's been there ever since Coach Weir was the head coach. So, like, he's kind of carried on the tradition. And it starts with our weight room, our strength program. Coach McCartney knows what he's doing. And I think why Olathe North had so much success back in the day is because I think, like, before a lot of people got into strength and conditioning, I think we were one of the first ones to, like, really implement it into our summer workouts. And then everyone else started to do it. So I think, our strength program is really what sets us apart, I think.
Yeah, the strength and conditioning is definitely a huge part of things. So I'm going to read a quote here from Ryan Wallace. It was off 247 Sports about the recruiting aspect of you after your commitment to Iowa, and then I'd like to get your reaction. So I'm sure you've seen it, but I'm going to read it for our viewers at home. Is he going to be Tyreek Hill out of the backfield? Certainly not. But what Arland does in a box, creating space out of nothing, is really impressive. Plus, I think he's starting to develop a body that could play running back in college. He's got something you can't teach. I also love the fact that he was all North had. I mean, he was the game plan for every opponent every week, and he still put up insane numbers, end quote. So, have you seen that, or what's your reaction to hearing that?
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that on a couple of Iowa things, but it kind of really doesn't make sense because I'm going to play receiver. But Wallace, he's been to a couple of our games and watched me play. At that time, I told him that I wanted to play running back, so that's probably why he said that. But I don't feel like I was all we had either. But I don't know. It's a nice compliment, but that's not true.
Yeah,
I was gonna say don't throw anybody under the bus.
Yeah,
wait, kind of knocking the team.
Wait to be humble there. I will say from a game plan aspect, that was kind of one of the first things we would talk about defensively. Is hey, how are we going to stop Bruce? What are we doing? How are we going to key him? But there were other guys on that team that we were worried about. None to that level, but it was kind of how we would start our defensive meetings. Hey, what are we going to do as coaches? What are we going to do with Bruce this week? And, how are we going to stop him? And, obviously didn't do a very good job. Like I said, your sophomore year, we played you guys twice. We won one, lost one, but we lost the most important one, which was the playoff game in the quarterfinals. And then you guys fell in the semifinals to Blue Valley North, who eventually lost to Derby. And then, coming back last year, you guys go all the way to the state championship. You guys were rolling. Just take us through last year, your junior year, as you guys just keep racking up wins week in and week out.
Yeah, I feel like we had a lot of seniors that led us. I think 4 of our offensive linemen were seniors. That helped a lot. They're not the biggest guys, but technique was there. Strength was there. A couple of strong guys on defense. We just had a lot of good leaders, and the chemistry was there. So I think that's really what helped us get to state.
Yeah, and if I remember right, you guys had an injury to your quarterback kind of the week before we played, I think, and so you got moved back to that kind of quarterback role. How was that conversation? Were you a little disappointed that, you had to step into that role and kind of change what you had been doing, or how was that with Coach McCartney?
Yeah, I don't mind quarterback at all. I just rather play running back, but I don't mind it at all. But yeah, that really sucked because we had to change our whole game plan. Because he could actually run a little bit. He could do the read option and throw RPOs. So we had to put one of our younger guys in at running back, and he did just fine. But yeah, it kind of sucked. And then when he came back, he wasn't 100%, so we couldn't really run the ball with him. So every time we brought him in, they kind of knew that we were throwing or handing it off like 90% of the time. So yeah, it did hurt a little bit.
Yeah, it's always definitely tough when you get those injuries that happen, kind of mid-season there, and you got to change your game plan. And, I mean, even, on the flip side of that, we didn't really know because we were, our kids were telling us, hey, the quarterback's hurt, he's not playing this week, which, as coaches, we never know, like, are other kids, are you guys just talking and telling them that so they think like, oh, well, we're going to have an easier game because they're starting quarterbacks out, and so we're like, well, we got to prepare for starting quarterback, and then if we get there, I mean, we knew, we kind of had a game plan, but kudos to you guys for just being able to adjust and take care of that.
Yeah, thank you.
So Rivals has you rated as the second best player in Kansas, behind Pritchard from Gardner, which I don't know a lot about him. For some reason, he doesn't stick out of my mind the way that you do, and maybe it's the offense they run. But what makes you think? I mean, what do you think on that? Like, is he better than you? Are you better than him? How did that make you feel as a competitor?
He plays safety, so it's kind of hard because his main position, he's going to college for a linebacker actually at K-State, but I think his main position at Gardner is like safety. So like the comparison's hard, but I don't know. I don't really care too much about ratings and stuff like that. I don't know. I feel like this might sound bad, but I feel like I should be higher than a 3-star. But it is what it is.
That's right. You should feel like that. That's right.
Yeah, good
answer. You got a whole another year to change that. Even though I was going to ask this, is it kind of nice to already have that out of the way? Like you get to go in your senior year already knowing where you're going. After your senior year, like you already know.
Definitely.
Like, you know what I mean? Like there's no stress on that. So you're just like, yeah, I'm going to Iowa now. I can totally focus on winning the state championship.
Yeah, that was one of my goals, is to make my decision before the season started too.
Smart. That'll help you just kind of focus on what's going on this season and do that. So
yeah, I know a lot of kids in your position. They've said over the years that I've coached. It always just makes that senior year go more smooth when you already kind of have that decision made and know what you're doing. And so that's another good thing for you. Let's talk a little bit about the Iowa recruiting class of 2021. Nationally, it's ranked 9th, Big Ten 3rd, which is pretty good. There's one other Kansas City guy, Bo Stevens from Blue Springs. Have you talked to Bo at all, being a Kansas City guy?
I've talked to him a lot. Yeah, I've talked to him a lot.
Okay. Have you talked to any other recruits? Do you guys have like group chats and Snapchats and all that stuff, like where you guys are talking about what you're doing?
Yeah, we have like 2 or 3 group chats, and like we have like a Snapchat one without the coaches, and then like we have one with our head recruiter on there.
Okay. Are you guys gonna bring a national championship to the University of Iowa?
That's what he's that. There we go. He was warming it up for that question.
I mean, it's a really good.
That's the plan.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good recruiting class. I mean, obviously, I haven't seen a lot of the other guys play or studied film like I have with you. But when I saw your commitment to Iowa, I was excited, and I'm like, man, that's a good get for the University of Iowa.
Sure, thank you. But yeah, we're really stacked. I can't remember how to say his last name. He's like the best tight end rated on 24/7. I think it's Thomas. I don't know if it's Fidone or Fidone. I don't know which one it is. But we're trying to work on getting him right now.